Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Trustcast Show. And we're happy to have with us today Poonam Bhuchar. Welcome to the show, Poonam.
Thank you, Zane. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Poonam survived sexual assault, an arranged marriage, and a traumatic divorce, then spent 25 plus years as an attorney watching her clients repeat the same emotional spiral she'd lived through. So she built something called the SAFE method, and we'll get into what that means in just a minute, and became the divorce strategist that KTLA, Fox, and Pfizer Women's Resource Group all called first. So you grew up in London with Indian parents, came to America at 21, and ended up as in an arranged marriage. What was the moment you realized the life you were living really wasn't yours?
I think I always knew it growing up, right? I had very loving parents who were immigrants in the UK who came with their own expectations, and they had a lot of pressure. They were the only parents that had left India, family members that had left India. They had pressure, right, to raise their kids correctly, and they had been frozen in time from when they left in the 70s. And I think it was always underlying the expectations. And I think it was really, I always knew, my gut always knew along that there was something more out there, but I was just following the motions.
So in India, it's so foreign the idea of an arranged marriage, but that's still fairly common in India, isn't it?
I mean, I would say it's still
Within the
happening.
confines of the country.
Yeah, I think it still happens. I think India has progressed so much that it's less, but I think in the villages and outside of the metropolitan area, it definitely happens more.
So you practice immigration and family law for over 2 decades. What kept showing up in divorce court that the legal system couldn't fix?
So one of the things, well, where do I begin with that? But let's one of the things that would really frustrate me, I had this line where I would say to my clients, you can either pay for my kids' college or you save the money and spend it on your kids' college. The choice is yours. And what I found more and more is divorce, the courts and attorneys have to look at the divorce as a business transaction. But it is the most traumatic thing for people because it's a loss of identity, it's a loss of their family members, it's a loss of the family as it know they know it, and it's a loss of a lot of the assets. And I started to realize that people were spiraling in a divorce because they weren't stabilizing their emotions, right? There was no accountability for their actions in their divorce. There was no accountability for how they got there. And the anger was driving everything. Anger drive your divorce, I promise you, you're going to be giving away your house, you're going to be litigating, and you're going to be losing a lot of money to perhaps achieve the same result you could have in a different way.
So I want to drill down to that there's no accountability. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. A lot of us, including myself, will go there and say, well, so and so was this way and so was that way. And that absolutely is true and may be true. But how we showed up and how we attracted that person in our life is a responsibility we have. I had unhealed trauma. The other individual, admit it or not, had unhealed trauma. And when you put two people together like that in a relationship, it's not going to work unless both of you do the work. And there are circumstances where it doesn't work and you just need to walk away. But I am responsible for not having dealt with my emotional pain, not having my boundaries raised, and allowing things to continually happen. It's very easy for us to sit in a victim mentality, right? Things happen that shouldn't happen, that are outside of our control. But we also need to take responsibility for not empowering ourselves. And I get it. A lot of people, I'm not just going to say women, men and women in relationships come from insecurity. They lose confidence. They have less financial control, and that's scary. But there are ways out. But when people can't pull themselves out and see from a third angle, you just keep spiraling in that situation and continuing it.
So you said divorce system is broken. What's the single biggest thing it gets wrong?
Oh, I think there's definitely the courts are backlogged. So what used to take 3 to 4 months is now taking over a year and a half. And imagine if a couple can't afford to move out and they're still in the divorce process, living in the home, what frustrations rise. You're seeing more of restraining orders, you're seeing more animosity, which ultimately filters down to the children. And second generational trauma. I think also it's just the way the system is set up. I really do feel it's about who can spend the most money in court and outdo the other party, filing motions, whether they're needed or not, and just constantly spending money. And sometimes I've seen clients, even since I've been doing the divorce strategy work, getting caught in that rut of the paperwork, responding to paperwork, and they just don't know whether they're coming or going. And their attorneys is like, we need this and we need that. And that's not what this is about. And I think it loses sight, even though I understand it can't get into the emotions of a family, the divorce. This is not the way you're supposed to separate families.
So you're a partner at Kumar
No,
Pathak.
no, no.
No, you were. You were.
I were. I was in a
Yeah,
previous
you
life.
were handling Fortune 500 immigration cases. How did you go from corporate immigration to becoming a divorce strategist or divorce coach?
So I have my own firm for 16 years, and I used to represent corporate immigration clients. And 2, 3 years into the practice, I started to have people, especially women, that would come in and say, we need representation. And I was the only female partner on the New Jersey side at the time before I had my firm. And I said, no, this is a law I'm never touching. I don't care. I'm
Hmm.
never touching. And you never know the path you're walking, because I did start to do it. And I ended up in that process myself 5, 6 years later after practicing. So I started to represent people, and ironically, I ended up representing, just the way it worked out, more men than women. Um, and it was just one case after the other. And then I would say I was doing all of this until 2021, 2022. And between 2022 and 2024, the corporate immigration practice grew in such a good way. I was affiliated with a medium-sized firm in New Jersey, and I would start to give my clients to the firm that I was affiliated with. Those clients, because of the trust that they had with me, would constantly be coming back. Well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And give us opinion. And you give a human approach. The attorneys were excellent. One of them even represented me in my divorce, but they wanted a more human, real life approach of, how does this play out after the divorce? What does this look like? And I started to realize that that was something that I was able to give to people, because I've done this professionally. I've also been a single mom for 18 years.
So January is apparently divorce month. Not sure why. Can you walk me through what your phone looks like in early January, and why is that divorce month?
So the phone would ring off the hook between Thanksgiving and January, because it's the holiday time, everybody's together, they're spending more time with each other, and that's when they realize the gaps become bigger. And that's when everybody wants to start the new year in a different way. They want something different, and that's when they decide to file.
Hmm, interesting. So the SAFE method stands for stop, accept, forgive, embrace. Which of those four steps do people resist the most?
Accept. I would say accepting that they have any response, accepting there are things that are out of your control in life, accepting where you are and accepting some type of responsibility, even if it's 2%, 5%. And I would say forgiveness. It takes time, but people, somebody asked me this question the other day. I was doing that. There's all these reels out there about narcissism, and everybody keeps feeding themselves the same type of things on social media. There is this thing about what you feed your brain is what you're going to keep delving into and what you're going to become. And at some point, there is an acceptance. There has to be forgiveness to move on and lead a healthy life and not hold on to all of that.
So tell me what your practice looks like right now. So I know where you came from, but what does a day to day look like right now with your practice? Or are you practicing law still, or are you just really acting as a divorce strategist, or both?
So I practice corporate immigration law like 30% of the time now.
Hmm.
But the divorce strategy work is where my passion, my heart, everything lies. And with the clients, what I end up doing is I say, emotionally stabilize before we strategize. So I have people that come to me pre-divorce, mid-divorce, post-divorce. And I just want to put it out there. That doesn't mean I'm promoting divorce. I've had people that come pre-divorce that have recognized that they have the issues, they're projecting it on their partner, and they want to go work things out. I'm not here to promote divorce. The emotional, so I have a bunch of things. I have different programs, but I basically help people emotionally stabilize through the emotional safe method. If they haven't hired an attorney, I will walk through the questions to go ask their attorney before they hire them. I will even suggest attorneys that they can go and find and ask the right questions. A lot of the times what happens is people don't even know how to find an attorney, what questions to ask, and then they're like, 6 weeks into it, I don't like my attorney. Well, when you go to another attorney, that attorney is going to bill you again to catch up on the case, and you are like spending more and more legal fees. So I work with them on that. I also review all the paperwork. I help them put the paperwork together, and then we'll strategize, right? Nothing illegal within the bounds of the law, but I can't call it legal advice outside of the state of New Jersey. I call it legal knowledge to empower them when they go to speak to their attorneys. So, and then I'll also walk with them on what does their post-life divorce look like? What is the support system? How are they going to navigate the custody that if they've never had to pick up and drop off the kids, or if they've never dealt with the finance, what does that look like? I'm also partnered with different financial wealth management companies like Alliance Bernstein, where we can help someone look at what the finances look like, because that's a very sticky point with people as to they get afraid. They don't know what it looks like. So it's a more holistic view. And honestly, I've saved people thousands in legal fees because I'm like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, go speak to your attorney. They'll send me the paperwork. I'm like, where's the motion for support? And somebody has had to go call their attorney and say, where's the motion for support? And they have admitted, I forgot to file it. So they've had to turn it around in a couple of days and do it. Somebody else who was having a custody issue with her husband, he was in a new relationship. He had a 1-day, 2-day schedule. She was like, this doesn't work. And she's like, I want 100% custody. I'm like, you are never going to get 100% custody. If he gives it over time, that's different, but don't fight there. But this schedule is nonsense. She goes, well, my attorney says that's the way it is. I'm like, no, that's not the way it is. Go and say 1, 2, 3, 4 to your attorney. And she did. Her attorney had to argue it in court. The husband knew that she was going to win because he could see where the judge was going. And the next day just said to her, fine, take the schedule that you want. That didn't cost her tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. It really took her speaking to me and me showing her how to advocate for herself. So that it's, I call myself in the different programs that I have, the CEO of your divorce.
So, where do you, as you're not actually practicing per se on the divorce side of things, you're practicing on the immigration side of things, but where's your primary client base located?
It's across the US. I have clients in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Seattle, across the base, LA. It's a lot of the times it's executives, it's professionals that just need to go from A to Z, don't know how to, are frustrated with the legal system. And they're frustrated a lot of the times because they want responses from their attorneys, when in actual fact, their attorney doesn't have a response because the court system is slow.
So, do you help people with arbitration, mediation, that kind of thing
So
for divorce?
I have done in the past. I can in California and I can in New Jersey.
Um, so you teach three types of forgiveness. What are they, and which one surprises people?
Forgiveness of the other person that you feel that's hurt you because it's a perception. They may have not realized, they may not care, and they've moved on. But if you're looking for the person to say sorry to you, it may or may not happen. Fortunately, in my lifetime, it's happened, maybe many years later, but it's happened. But it's not holding on to that, because you're really burning yourself in the anger. And that and that anger, that victim mentality, that not dealing with the emotions led me to having 2 strokes before the age of 40
Oh
and
my goodness.
surgery. So I talk from experience. I see it all the time. You need to let go of it to be able to move forward and live your life. And the forgiveness comes from understanding and walking in the person's shoes and coming from empathy and humanizing them. We're all human and we make mistakes. The second type of forgiveness is forgiveness of the universe. How many of us sit here and say, why am I the one going through this? Why is so and so? Stop the comparisons. We all have different blueprints in life. And I can honestly say every single thing I went through my life in, maybe I didn't want it, but I'm grateful because it's got me to here today where I know I can make a difference in people's lives and have made a difference. And to me, it's all worth it. And everything was a lesson that I needed to learn or something that needed me to carry me forward. I may not have realized it at that time. And the one that I think people get surprised about is forgiveness of oneself. We're all so hard on ourselves. We don't even realize it. There's so much negative chatter in our brains that I'm this way, I did this, and it's so subconscious we don't even realize it, but it feeds into how we show up as in our businesses, how we show up at work, how we show up as a leader. And it's time to give ourselves the same grace that we give other people. And I think that's the one that surprises people the most.
Okay, so I think that that's true in just in life, to take a positive approach to things. Sometimes that's difficult to do, especially when you're facing a lot of issues. So that could be, I can see how that could work. So you spoke at a Pfizer Women's Resource Group on corporate burnout using the SAFE method. How does the divorce framework apply to someone who's burned out at work?
So the SAFE method is something that I have applied in the divorce strategy, but the SAFE method came first about healing emotional. I healed my own emotional trauma that way because I wanted to move forward. But in terms of corporate burnout, it's stopping and accepting instead of constantly going and going and going. It's stopping and accepting where I am today. How is it that I feel? And I think that needs to be a daily practice, a check in with ourselves, because we check in with everybody else, but we need to check in what our temperature is that day. What is it that we're feeling? And if we're feeling burnt out, okay, stop. And I think a lot of burnout, we call it corporate burnout, but I think it's a lot of the times, especially since COVID with all the working from home, is our personal lives affecting our corporate lives and our corporate lives affecting our personal lives. It's a vicious circle. It's about stop and take a pause of where I am. What is it that I'm feeling? And then accepting that it's okay. I do feel burnt out, but what can I do from here? What do I need to change in my daily schedule? Is it my exercising? Is it my food? Is it the toxic relationship that I need to fix so that I don't feel burnt out? What is it that I need to address? Just one thing. Forgiveness. Don't feel like you failed. We all feel burnout sometimes. Don't feel like that you're less than because you can't keep up. Look at, do I need to go have a conversation with my manager? Do I need to take a day off or 2 days off just to find myself again and not be caught up in this? And E is embrace it. This is where you are. What can I do to move this forward? Do I need to offload something? Do I need to adjust my day? Do I need to take time off? Do I need to just embrace where I am and realize that maybe this isn't the thing for me? This isn't what I want to do anymore, and adjust my life. But it's all about checking in with yourselves. And obviously this doesn't happen overnight, but at least starting that process.
So did I see in my research here, you did a TEDx talk?
Yes, I did.
And so what was the main focus of your TEDx talk?
It was the SAFE method on how things happen in life, whether it's sexual trauma, whether it's divorce, whether it's loss of finances. I've gone through all of that. Whether it's health, I've had health issues. But life is still a gift, and how we choose to live it is up to us. We can either live it like I wasted many years in the victim mode, or we can choose to accept that it is a gift and lead every single day to the fullest. That does not mean that things don't happen in my life today. That doesn't mean that everything's rosy and wonderful. It means I'm not sitting in it. I can move quickly because I accept that this is a journey of life. There is really no destination, and how we move forward with it is up to us, and how we heal it is up to us. And some people will find the SAFE method, some people will find therapy, some people will find spirituality, but you need to find something that works for you versus sitting in the muck and acting like a victim. Because the one thing that I said to myself, December 31st, 2011, there is nobody that's going to come save me except me.
That's the truth. So when a high net worth executive comes to you mid-divorce, what's the first thing you work on that their attorney isn't?
Giving them answers, right? Giving them answers as to what does the process look like? Giving them the emotional support. And that emotional support is nothing crazy. High executives will never, and I've been there were people in my firm that didn't even know I was getting divorced that worked for me. It was high achievers are used to achieving. They're not used to failing. And divorce feels like one of the biggest failures ever. They are never going to admit it at work. They're never going to admit it to their friends. They're never going to be open and honest about it. But if I provide a safe space for people to do that, where they're not judged by somebody who's been an entrepreneur, an executive, dealt with executives their whole life and professionals, there's no judgment. It's a safe space for them to get out really how they're feeling. I've had guys that will never admit that they miss their kids, come out and say, I'm broken without my kids. Help me get that 50% custody of my kids. I'm afraid that they're going to get taken. I've had mothers say, I'm going to lose all my finances because I don't have access to it, or I'm fearful. It's just addressing that on an emotional level that attorneys cannot have the time to do. And if you do it, you're going to get billed per hour. I don't bill per hour. I have a flat rate fee.
That was my next question. So your coaching model, is coaching, would that be the right word to use? Because we talked about it before and you said strategist.
Yeah, it's more strategy in terms of how to address everything in your life, whether that's the divorce, whether that's the assets, whether that's your emotions, whether that's how do I set this up for the kids, or what do I say to the kids. This is the most understated thing. People don't know how to address certain things with their kids, and the kids end up getting used as pawns, and that creates generational trauma.
Yes. So your coaching model, it doesn't bill by the hour like a traditional attorney. How does it work when someone signs up?
So I have different models. I have a 2.5 day intensive, which is the most expensive, where I fly down to wherever people need me to. I sit with them for 2.5 days. We go over the emotional, the strategy, what they want, and the best way to get it, even helping them find attorneys and navigate various things. And if they need ongoing support after that, I'll talk about what that looks like, and that can be on a monthly basis. I have a 12-week program one-on-one where I do Zoom sessions once a week. And they will also have access to two 15-minute phone calls with me a week because things come up, whether that's in the house with the kids or with their attorney, and they want to just quickly run something by me. In that program, I will also review all the paperwork, same with the 2.5 day intensive, any paperwork their attorney's doing, anything they'll send to me, I'll review it. I review a lot of marital settlement agreements. I take a second look at them, see what's missing, what needs to be addressed, what isn't addressed. And then I have a group coaching program for 12 weeks, which is just, let's get on we have a 1 hour Zoom session, but that's not really reviewing their paperwork. It's more of a group discussion.
Hmm. So you really have to limit the number of people that you can talk to because there's only so much you to go around. Is that accurate?
Yes and no. The group coaching, I can take on as many people. The one-on-one, yes. But saying I did this, I had a successful practice that I left in New Jersey. I sold 3/4 of it. But I did this because this is a soul calling for me. This is not about, yes, I want to make money. Absolutely. I have to make money, all the rest of it.
Yes. Our mortgage holders
Exactly.
require us to
Right.
make money.
But I also believe the universe will take care of that. But this is really something that I am passionate about, and it needs to change. And if the system's not going to change, we need to change it slowly, one step at a time, by helping people and showing them that there is a different way to do this.
So you appeared on KTLA talking about golden divorce, which is couples 50 and older splitting up. So when you're talking about high net worth individuals, I bet a large portion of those would kind of fall into that. What makes that kind of divorce uniquely devastating?
25 to 30 years of marriage, everything they've known. A lot of the times, the women may have been stay-at-home moms taking care of the kids, and the kids have grown, left the nest, and all of a sudden they don't know anything else, right? I mean, I know as a mom, as my kids are working now, when they left, I've been working. It was devastating. It's something no one prepares you for. But if that's been your whole role, your whole life, and then your marriage has fallen apart and your kids have gone, it's devastating, because the question becomes, well, now what? This is all I knew. And even for men, now what? I thought I was going to retire and settle down. Now what? My wife wants a divorce. I didn't think this was going to go this way. I think it's scary because you've built your life, you've built your assets. What does my life look like now? And the loneliness part of it that nobody addresses. What does that look like? And how do I, at the age of 50 plus, restart my life? It's a scary proposition for a lot of people.
For anyone, really. So there's the the huge side of this, and maybe there's the legal side of it, and there's, how do we do all these, how do we go through these steps of separating our finances, and then how do I find the attorney? But then there's the emotional side of it. Do you, and it sounds like you do discuss this with them, but do you help them to find, therapists or other things like that so that they can, or situations to help them deal with the emotional side of it?
So Zane, I can help them find a therapist. Some of them are in therapy, and I I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a therapist. I have a method that has worked for me in my life, and I can tell you when you're discussing somebody's relationship, somebody's kids, somebody's most devastating part of their life, and they trust you, they will open up about things that they have not even opened up to their therapist about. And I've had those moments plenty of times, and I will just be like, okay, you need to walk through this with your therapist, or you need to address this, whether it's spirituality, religion, you need to find something that works for you where to move forward from this. So yes, I never tell anyone not to have a therapist or not to have an attorney. But a lot of the times things have come out that they haven't even discussed with their therapist. It's not uncommon for me to hear, I've never told anybody this.
So, Poonam, you coach people before, during, and after divorce. Which phase do most people wait too long to get help with?
I say if you've hired your attorney, you're too late. A lot of people come during because they're frustrated. But if you hire your attorney, if you're thinking about it before you hire your attorney, you can have things laid out where you know which direction you want to go. Whereas when you don't have the knowledge and you don't know the direction you're going to go, you don't know what your finances are going to look like, then you're just like a ping pong ball between the attorney and the system and the paperwork.
So you mean when you've hired the attorney, that you tend to get locked into a particular way of thinking?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I like to do rapid fire just to lighten things up, especially on a really intense topic like this. So let me just throw some just different questions at you. London or New Jersey?
London.
Worst piece of divorce advice people get from friends?
Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll just move on. Good riddance to him or her.
The book that changed how you think about pain?
Anita Morjani's oh my God, I've forgotten the title of it. Living to Die or Dying to Live, one of them, but Anita Morjani's book.
Okay, and first thing you do every morning?
I meditate.
Okay. One word your clients would use to describe you?
Trustworthy.
That's nice. Co-authoring with Les Brown. Everybody, if you don't know him, he's a pretty big deal and quite a unique individual. What's something he said that stuck?
I don't think it's something he said. I think it's the way he shows up that has stuck. The way he shows up, the way he's motivates, the way he walks the walk.
So, how did you end up co-authoring with Les Brown? Because he doesn't just do that with anybody. How did you make that connection? He's a pretty busy guy.
So I know somebody that knows him. I was speaking on stage at that event, and we were offered the opportunity. I was, we were the ones, those of us that spoke on stage were offered the opportunity to do this, and I would take it in a heartbeat.
Marvelous. So, I want to shift side one more time. You also invented a product called Cozy Wheels, a wheelchair blanket. Where did that come from?
My heart and soul. My mom had unexpectedly, my mother had a brain hemorrhage 3 years ago. and she was on vacation in India from London, and we all flew down. Long story short, when she came back to London and we all taking care of her when she was wheelchair bound, knock on wood, she's a miracle in the making. But we'd go out to restaurants, or we'd go take her out in the wheelchair, and the blankets would get stuck. And my mum was raised in British boarding schools. She was always dressed up really well. And then I put this disgusting blanket on her and I would get frustrated. And I'm like, this has to change. And I would look out there and everything was very clinical, was not very luxurious. And I was like, I can't believe this. And I'm sorry to say this, but my frustration was, a pet has more choices than somebody in a wheelchair. How is this acceptable? And with my mentor, David Meltzer, I threw the idea at him and he goes, I love it. And he helped me figure this out. So I now have a wheelchair blanket that is for sale. I'm partnered with the Disabled American Veterans. We do buy two, get one free. And the goal is about warmth, dignity, and choice for people that are in wheelchairs.
So where do you find this wheelchair blanket?
CozyWheels.com.
Okay. Is it on Amazon?
No, not yet. Cozy.
Okay.
It's on Shopify. Cozy Wheels with a K.
Cozy Wheels with a K. CozyWheels.com. Okay, interesting. So running a coaching practice, writing books, launching a product company, how do you decide what gets your energy?
I have a formula. It's about everything is on my calendar and everything is done. And the thing that gets me going through all of it is my mindset, is my 2-hour practice in the morning. It's meditation. It's my breathing. It's my journaling that gets me set for the entire day. And trust me, when I don't do it for a day, I know, because the day is completely off.
So now I always put out these questions and then I always go off script. But so how do you there's the time constraints that you have to deal with. How do you deal with the time constraints of that? Or what system do you use? Use time blocking on your calendar? Do you make a list, a to-do list, or do you put one thing at the top of your calendar? This is the main thing I want to do. How do you address that?
So I have certain days that I do certain things, and there are certain things. It's on my calendar, and I have lists. But I have certain days that I will work on certain things, and there are some things that I will do consistently every morning and in the evening. But it's really on my calendar, and I have the list of what needs to be done for that week.
And so I'm going to not say the word, but ship happens. That's that things just totally, mess up, the best laid plans, or there's all these things that are just going on that are all these distractions that just are coming at you all the time. And it's easy to turn your eye and then you start on some little project over here. And then suddenly there's 2 or 3 hours that are gone. How do you combat that?
So ship happens. And I'm going to say the same thing. I used to be that person probably 15 years ago that used to like lose her mind when things weren't, because, I was raising the kids. I had a business. I needed to do this. I needed to do that. Now, because of the mindset piece, because of what I do for myself every morning and every evening, it's okay. This isn't meant to happen today. Okay, let's go for a walk. Okay, let's regroup, or put it to the side. We need to deal with this today, and it's okay. And that's part of the forgiveness too, right? Stop being hard on yourself. It's okay if you didn't get to every single thing you needed to, and then you reprioritize what is really urgent today. Or I'll be honest, last year there was a tough time in my family last year where for about 2 months, I had to put things on the side here, but I was going in between every single day. But it's like, let me just prioritize what I need to do today. I can't get mad at myself. I can't get frustrated. I just need to stay calm. That's where I
Okay.
think those mechanisms are really important that calm you down.
So you offer also a 3 day couples retreat, luxury couples retreat. What happens in that retreat that you can't accomplish in a regular session?
So I'm going to be very honest with you, Zane. That is something that I have put in the back burner because,
Okay.
but the idea behind that when it was originally born was if people are thinking about getting divorced, give it one last chance. Come to this retreat. I have different programs with different people, from somatic healers to yoga to my safe method to a lot of the teachings of where I'll have workbooks they need to do, a lot of conversations of honesty in an environment where people are going through the same things and it's safe.
So that's just one of those things that you had to put off to the side because there's just no more
Yeah,
there's no more hours left within. Yeah. So if someone watching this and they're lying in bed dreading another day with their marriage, what's their very first step?
well, I would say you can reach me at emotionallysafe.com. You can reach me on Instagram at emotionally_safe, and you can DM me, find me on Facebook, Poonam Bhuchar, DM me, email me, and Poonam at emotionallysafe.com, and have a conversation. I don't bill to have a conversation. Maybe
Okay,
I
well,
can help you, maybe I can't, but have the conversation.
thanks so much for coming on the show.